Hi, this is Gregg Amerman, and we are back at you with another edition of Get the Edge. Most of the time when you get your Get the Edge series, it is in a CD format. It means you're listening to it. But this month, we've got a DVD. Another great thing about the Get the Edge series is many times we're interviewing very successful people. So why not go to our very own successful Mr. Mark Adams, CEO and president of SoZo. And we had an opportunity to catch up with him on our trip to Puerto Rico. As many of you know, we had a phenomenal trip to Puerto Rico with all the leaders of the company who went out and worked really hard to win a contest that took them to this beautiful island. And so we sat down with Mark Adams to get his take on success and what it takes to achieve a great deal in your life, but also what makes SoZo the opportunity of a lifetime. So let's go out to the picturesque, beautiful palm trees and water as we sat down in a casual environment and get to hear firsthand from the CEO and president of SoZo, Mr. Mark Adams. This month's Get the Edge program, this is really exciting, a little unique because, as you know, most of the Get the Edge programs are audio programs, and this month's program is a video. And I have the greatest honor to sit with a man that has achieved a tremendous amount. This is a man who people say he is a serial entrepreneur because he's done so much. He's not limited to one success, but limited to many successes. And we'll get to hear about those philosophies, those concepts, those ideas that have helped him to achieve that. I'll tell you, this is a man I have a great deal of respect for because he's a competitor. And he's a winner, meaning that, yes, he's had his fair share of failures along the way in every endeavor that he's embarked on. But within each one of those failures, he gained something from it. He learned something from it, only to make him better and to become an ultimate winner and to see those opportunities succeed. He is now currently the CEO, the president, and really spearheading the great company of SoZo Life that all of you have an opportunity to participate in. And so I'd like to welcome to our Get the Edge series show, Mr. Mark Adams.
Thank you, Greg. Great to be here. Anytime I get a chance to, especially come to a place like this, paradise, with this many winners, this many leaders, and celebrate the success we've had, it's a great honor.
You know, sitting here in Puerto Rico and a trip that SoZo created for the distributors to have a chance to come on, and I think that's a really neat thing when you have a company that not only gives you a great product, and we'll talk about that in a minute, a great financial opportunity, but also incentives like this to create a quality of life. I know that's one of the things you always talk about is, you know, having money is great and having achievement, but also enjoying friendships, family, lifestyle is very important.
Oh, absolutely. I think if you take it to a base level, it's people and it's relationships. And I think that's what makes our business so much fun and so exciting. And if you look at the people that are with us on this trip, they genuinely enjoy each other's company. And not only you find them around the pool sharing best practices and sharing success stories, but you find them sharing stories about their family and about the fun they're having together and the memories that they're creating. And to me, that's the fabric of the culture we're building. It's a culture of relationships, connecting one person to the next as we continue to build this business and take it now. We're beginning to go global with our company as we begin to go one country to the next. That same culture, that same sort of communication philosophy, we think will continue.
You know, I love that word and the concept behind the word, which is culture, because you really need a powerful culture to be successful, especially in a business like this. But let's back up a little bit, you know, so that people can get to know you. I hear so many great words from all of the distributors that are here in Puerto Rico. They give you tremendous praise. And I'd love to go back a little bit. I think it'd be great for people to get to know you just a little bit.
Okay,
you know, being a serial entrepreneur in terms of where you are today, but maybe you weren't always there. So what was it like maybe early on for Mark Adams growing up, and maybe what was the first step that sent you on your way to having your first entrepreneurial experience?
Well, I'll tell you, I guess as a young kid, I was always finding ways to make money. You know, that was sort of a start. I always wanted more independence as a child, the more the ability to take a challenge and succeed with it. And I think, going through college and getting out of school, the path I went on is I went to work for a Fortune 100 company. I went to work for Xerox and then Johnson & Johnson, and then went to work for Bostic Worldwide. And so I worked for these 3 large Fortune 100 type companies. And the interesting thing is, as I developed and grew in my career, I learned a couple things. There is no great business, I don't care what industry you're in, that's ever great until you first have the right people around that business. And on top of not just having the right people, but valuing the right people. Being able to, and valuing has a lot of different ways to do that. I don't just mean you value them in your heart, I mean you value them by what you actively do to provide support and encouragement and financial safety net and some of the things that are important for people's lives. And that you make them more important than anything else you do in business. So I learned that. But the second thing I learned in that regard, and world-class companies tend to do that to begin with, but then secondly is I made a lot of money for other people. And at one point I was like, wow, if I owned this company and I went and did that thing that I did, in those days I was managing businesses around the world and opening new markets, and eventually I ran the worldwide sales and marketing operations international. But I began to think, what if I built my own business? What would I do differently? What could I do better? What would I leverage from what I had already learned? And so that sort of set me off in a mindset, could I go build my own company? And from there, I started doing that. And I got a little carried away, I think. But SoZo is really the culmination of a lot of past entrepreneurial learnings. I've started some companies. I've been very blessed to have good partners. And from there, I think the fundamental thing that I can say through every single company that has been key is finding and getting involved the right people in the business, having the right underlying core operating values. A lot of companies will put their value statement up on the wall, but the bottom line is you got to have the right values that are instilled in the active day-to-day operation decision-making of a business. And the people that are driving that business have to, 1, understand what those are, and 2, they got to be willing to follow them. And that becomes the foundation of a culture that has the potential to be great. Doesn't mean it'll be great. I guarantee you, without a strong underlying value system in the business, it will never be great. And so we started with that here at SoZo as we built the company, and we've been leveraging and building on that since. And by the way, the people we've attracted are all of amazing group of high character, hardworking, entrepreneurially driven, relationship-oriented builders that are out trying to grab their own destiny, and they themselves are becoming the entrepreneurs of tomorrow. And I get the pleasure of actually watching other people build their own business and create their own success. And so it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing that really stuck out for me was you said value, because that's a word that can mean a lot of things. Values, value. And I think with SoZo, you're bringing tremendous value to people's lives, but like you said, it's based upon those values. Can you talk a little bit about maybe specifically what would you consider to be the most important values for people to have as they're building their business?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say what's the most important. I think, integrity is incredibly important. And I think, responsibility is important. I think you can define those. Some people will define them differently. I'm a big believer, it's not the written responsibility, it's the unspoken responsibility that we all have to each other in business. So what that equates to, Greg, is just doing the right thing. And I'm a believer that in a business, if you'll just do the next right thing, you don't have to have a roadmap for the next 50 right things. If you'll do the next right thing, and for the right reason, which is valuing people. I also think leadership is key, and I think you cannot separate responsibility from leadership. The two cannot be separated. So if you say I'm a leader, then you have to be responsible. And so I feel great responsibility, co-founding this company and leading this company. But likewise, a distributor building the business has to recognize their responsibility to the other people who they have sponsored into the business to help them become successful. And so I think, certainly integrity, certainly leadership. I think loyalty is a very important trait among people who value relationships, because that gets fundamental to trust and the ability to trust one another. And so I guess it's hard for me to say which one's most important, but I think you'd be hard pressed to find a really true world-class entrepreneur in any industry, any business, that got there without first recognizing the importance of leading with the right fundamental values and disciplines from that business. People don't follow you because of your position. They follow you because of who you are. And so in this business, we have a whole room, especially now, we have all of our leaders. You can hear them yelling back there in the pool. You know, these are people where a lot of our organization around the country and outside the U.S. are following them because they trust them and they believe in who they are and what they're about here in SoZo.
That's huge. You know, leadership, what you talked about, and just what I think is amazing about you is when you think about all the long-term relationships you have, because I think you measure a leader a lot by their following and the length of time that following is in place. Because a lot of times people in business, when they only focus on the money, they burn bridges because they're so busy chasing the dollar and making it all about the almighty dollar. And the thing that I've gained so much respect for you is that you talk about that the least. It seems that money seems to find you because you do the very things that you're talking about, is having that integrity, having that loyalty, having that dedication and commitment to a world-class company, especially like SoZo. So speaking of SoZo and knowing that you've accomplished so much to get to this point and now stepping into this role, you know, why SoZo? Why this opportunity? I mean, you could have your choice of doing whatever you want and choosing any company to be a part of or invest in or not do anything at all because you've been so fortunate. Why SoZo and why now?
Well, you know, I think it's the business. I think it's the right business at the right time, first off. My view as entrepreneurship in general is that if, you know, when you look at where is the right entrepreneurial opportunity for most people, it has nothing to do with a good environment or a bad environment. It has to do when something shifts. When something shifts, whether it's a macro shift or a micro shift, in there is an opportunity. One of the shifts that we noticed when we were building SoZo is that we were shifting into a recessionary environment. That was a shift that actually supercharges our industry. So first off, there was I perceived a reasonably good business opportunity. Two, these are tough businesses to start. If you're going to start a network marketing company and do it right and do it well, it's tough. So I like the challenge of it. Third, this is an industry that doesn't have the best reputation. And quite frankly, as I was looking at Coffee Berry and creating this product, I wanted it to be the best product in the market. Larry Cantrell was instrumental in making sure that it was. And he actually brought Coffee Berry to us, and we began to talk about building a business around it. But I looked at this industry and I was like, you know, why does it not have a good reputation? And so much of it has to do with these entrepreneurs who come in, they have smoke and mirrors. They're going to promise all these things, and everybody engages and comes and gives their best efforts, but they never really achieve what's promised. And so to me, I was I have a mindset now, what if we just did what we said we'd do? What if we just kept our promises? Wouldn't that be a lot less stressful? And so we began going about building that kind of foundation. And as I kind of got further into it, I realized this is a great industry. It gave me what I didn't, you know, in my restaurant company and my insurance company and the other things I've done. By comparison, they're just nowhere near as much fun as we're having here. Right. You got to admit, are we having a good time? I don't know that I've ever had more fun than I do with this group of people.
I agree.
And my point is that I then realized that the things that I most value, you know, leadership among leaders and entrepreneurship among entrepreneurs and creating a success environment around other people oriented to creating a success environment, building a new company with people who are out there building their own companies, looking at relationships, an environment that is leveraging one relationship to the other, and all of a sudden, and not the least of which, Gregg, frankly, is fun. And so I looked at all this, I was like, wow, we could build something great here. And the key is great people, and I've spent an extraordinary amount of time internally identifying the right people. You know, people make a big difference, but when you're building a corporate organization, it's not the people that make the difference, it's getting the right people. And the right people will make all the difference in the world. And that's not just an internal thing, but externally as well. And I think that the culture that we intended to build internally is now transferred externally. And we have phenomenal leadership. We have people that genuinely are excited about what they're doing and believe in what they're doing and feel great about how they're compensated and see the long-term vision for SoZo as I explain it and as others around me explain it. And so I guess network marketing was less about an intent and more about an exploration that turned into a little bit of a passion. And here we are 2 years later with this rock and roll company. Great, you know, I couldn't be more excited about where we are now because we are almost at the starting line, actually. Everything else was leading us up to right now today, where from today we're about to explode this business wide open, and everybody that's a part of the business now and in the days ahead are going to experience outstanding geometric growth opportunity. in terms of their business, their income, and the quality of their life. And frankly, the ability to have more options in their life as a result of being part of the SoZo team and the SoZo family.
Well, I'll tell you, I hope everybody watching this is really appreciating how valuable this is, because you know, you weren't a part of the network marketing industry, and most companies that start network marketing businesses are usually from the network marketing industry. And most people that aren't, as you say, because of the reputation and whatnot, people have their skepticisms and hesitancies and whatnot. But you may have had those in the beginning, but at least you took the time. A lot of people aren't that open-minded, but you took the time, you were open-minded, said, let me look into this further. And I love the fact that you said, I hope, again, people really pay attention to this when you said you're a very challenge-oriented person. And you look at it as a challenge to say, okay, everyone's saying this industry isn't, you know, this or isn't that, but you know it produces great wealth for people. I mean, that's obvious, and
sure,
there's data behind that. But you're like, what is it about this industry? And here you are coming along saying, you know what? It's not about every other company. It's about our company being the best. It's about SoZo being the best. What can SoZo do to rewrite the history, so to speak, in terms of doing it the right way, with class and with professionalism? And I know you guys have a lot of things you're going to be rolling out that are going to make those things happen.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I think the industry, you know, culture tends to protect culture, and industries tend to behave the way the industries have behaved. And so, you know, I've intentionally brought on a COO that's not from this industry. My CFO is not from this industry. And while we have some good talent around from the industry, and we're continuing to add that talent, and we need that experience and talent as part of our team and our evolution. I think that there are some things that this industry has historically done that I think, on one end, lead to mediocrity. Two, that ultimately can devalue the very people building the business. And I think three, can lead to a reputation for that company in the industry that is less than desirable, and certainly not on par with other industries that behave differently. And so as I looked at this, first thing I thought about was what could we do differently? And I think part of, you know, one is identifying the shift that I mentioned, but then secondly is the ability to say, all right, where do we differentiate? And the differentiation is where greatness is. You'll never follow the same path that anybody else has laid and become great. You have to be able to look at the path, identify, you know, what do you want to leverage from the existing sort of status quo, and then what can you do differently? And just to give you an example, I simply don't subscribe to the position that we have an industry where you can have 70% turnover. You know, so 100% of people come in, 70% wash out, 30% go on to make millions of dollars or whatever. I don't believe that. If given a choice, for example, just to use this as an example, I think for my people to go work in an office in an insurance company all day long, or come work with SoZo, all things being equal, income, opportunity, everything else, they'd be right here on the beach with us. What keeps them there? And it's because the industry doesn't do enough to take care of the people. And I'm talking about, why couldn't you give a brick and mortar type security package, total benefits, compensation, so forth, to the independent business operator that's out there building a business? Why do they have to sink or swim in the early stages of trying to be entrepreneurs? That's how the industry operates. Can we do some stuff differently to strengthen their ability, their independent ability to become successful? Can we help them become more successful, thereby perpetuating the overall enterprise? That's not what the industry does typically, and we spend a great deal of time on that. And I think, you know, reformation is what this industry needs, and reformation happens in a lot of different industries. But why can't SoZo be the leader in reforming the industry? Why can't we emerge as that great company in our industry that others look to as an example? And frankly, I think the reason we can, or the reason we can't, comes down to one thing. It comes down to making a choice. And we and my management team, we have chosen to be the best in this industry. Now, it's easy to say. It takes a lot more behind that to do it. I think our distributors will ultimately evaluate us based on our ability to, you know, say what we're going to do and then do what we said we're going to do. And I'm perfectly happy being held accountable to that standard. And so the path we're laying is sort of a unique path in that regard. And behind all these comments, Greg, there's a lot of actual things we're doing. And as you know, I can't speak to you about that right now, but in our launch on, in January and going forward, we'll announce a lot of things that are unique to this industry, or unique to SoZo, I mean, within the industry, that I think will create a lot more excitement. And we'll again give more of that underlying security that will change the dynamic around retention of distributors. We want to build a culture and a family and an opportunity that people want to be part of for the long term, not just for a few months until they're unable to achieve somebody else's promise to them. And that's just one difference. I think beyond that, you look at our products, there is no question. I mean, there's absolutely no question. The products that we have right now in the market are best in class, every one of them. You look at our functional beverage product, we have a double-blind, third-party, pharmaceutical-grade blood efficacy study with a placebo group that validates the impact of our product on human blood over time. Nobody in the industry in the world has ever done that. And so when an independent distributor goes to sell our products, they go with the confidence that what they're presenting is factually correct and that we have really built what we say we are. And so much of the industry doesn't operate that way. And to me, I think transparency, I think accountability, I think authenticity, I think responsibility, I think making and keeping promises that we make to our distributors and to our end customers, those are the things that matter. And those are the things that build a great business. Anything else, you're just in the game. But I don't just want to win the game, Greg. I want to win every single play. And with this team at SoZo, that's what we're trying to do.
And that's powerful. I mean, who wouldn't want to be part of a team like that? I mean, that's what would attract people. And I think that's what's attracting the caliber of people that you're seeing every day, every week, every month, and certainly into the future. You talk about the incredible products, and I think everybody who has used the products would absolutely agree with everything you said in relation to that. The income opportunity, people are loving it. I know only to get better, and that's one thing I also really respect and appreciate about SoZo. You don't want to just stay status quo. What can we do to continually make this better? And then on top of that, you also, I know, a very big proponent of training, support, making sure that distributors have the best possible opportunity to go out and succeed. Can you talk a little bit about,
Sure.
training, SoZo University, and the whole concept behind that?
Sure, let me do that. Let me take one step back because you mentioned, compensation. We announced here a few days ago we're giving out BMWs. And that's not something that you have to work for years to get. We're going to show you through training how you can have a brand new BMW in 90 days. And we'll pay for it. We'll pay for the BMW. We just announced 2 months ago that we're giving health insurance to our distributors. People don't do that in the industry. We're making it very accessible and very affordable. And we have many more steps to come around that comp plan, so stay tuned there. But how are you able to move through the comp plan and achieve those things? We've made it achievable. That's part of the promise that we make. But training, we've created SoZo University, and if I can compliment you as the leader of SoZo University, you've done an incredible job, absolutely incredible job. And it was interesting to me when we announced to you a couple days ago and the whole room stood up to acknowledge you based on the fact that they respect you, they have learned from you, they have become better at their business because of the training that you've provided. The leadership that you've brought to SoZo University and within our company is unquestioned. But I think that, at the end of the day, if somebody said, what are we? We are a personal development company with a comp plan. That's really what we are. And so there's no question that this group here, I did a poll of how many people, we have many, many, many dozens of couples here now. Like 92% of the people here are season pass holders at SoZo University. So there's definitely a correlation to personal development, professional development, training, and the ability to be successful in your business. And really, that's in any business. That's in any business out there. If you want to be your best, you got to recognize where you are now is not where you're going to end up. Where you're going to end up is where you choose to end up. And how you get there between where you are now in this industry and where you choose to end up in your own mind, in your own heart, is through training, is through the ability to get yourself plugged in into a quality training program to train you in your leadership, in your team. I mean, obviously Price and Zeffie and the team you've built is incredible. But behind that is your ability to bring that leadership and training has materially impacted the progression of SoZo. And not only am I very grateful to you, Greg, and your team, but so are all these leaders here today.
Well, and I really appreciate that, and training is so key. And I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for training. If someone didn't take me under their wing and teach me what I needed to do to go be successful. I always say if I was so good and so talented and so successful before, then why wasn't I doing it already?
Exactly.
So it took me having to learn from others to help me to get to where I want to be. Speaking of training, even on a personal level, I mean, before you started to excel and to ascend, so to speak, were there mentors in your life and people that affected you in training?
Sure, and I think the difference maybe in our industry is that we bring training to you, but when I was in my career, I had to seek it out. I had, professional development was more of my quest, personal professional development. But I ultimately, one of the large companies I worked for put me through 1 year of leadership development training, and I was constantly pursuing, on my own, professional education, accounting, finance management, managing for the financial manager, marketing, product, how do you get into building a product line strategy, and all the things that you use in time to build a business. And the business I ran, going back in my earlier days, some of those businesses were relatively complex. And I'm a big believer that to be successful, you have to do two things that are key. One is you got to put yourself in a position to fail. If you're not willing to put yourself in a position to fail, how can you know what you're capable of doing? And so this is a pretty safe environment to put yourself in a position to fail. For $100, you're in business for yourself. Right. We bring the training to you so you can do it. So I think first you got to put yourself in a position to fail, and I think secondly, you've got to embrace, people need to embrace risk as a central theme for what they do in their life. If you can't embrace risk taking, then you leave a lot on the table. The people that lead businesses today, the entrepreneurs that are achieving, if you track their history back, they took substantial risk along the way. And it's not risk that's life or death. You know what I mean? It's risk of rejection. It's fear of failure. It's getting out of your comfort zone. It's the risk that a lot of people don't realize they're afraid of. And I think what SoZo does is it kind of gives you that soft entry into being an entrepreneur. We bring the training forward. We bring the support mechanism around you. We give you the great products. We make the cost of entry almost nominal. And then from there, it's just a matter of doing the most important thing that any successful person does, in my opinion, and that's they make a choice. In the quiet of their own mind, in the quiet of their own heart, they decide at some point to say, I'm going to be successful. And that choice alone is 90% of the process getting there. You choose to be successful, you embrace risk, you get yourself in a position to fail so that you know what success looks like when you overcome it. And that platform only sets the stage for the next step, next step, next step, and next step. Then you begin to recognize shifts, and within those shifts are the opportunities, and there you just perpetuate forward. So this business, what's exciting about SoZo business, it's just one giant group of entrepreneurs all kind of moving in the same direction for the common good of this company. And gosh, who wouldn't want to be a part of that?
I agree with that. I love that. You think about that risk, and you think about even, it's a risk to go on that tightrope, walk that tightrope.
Absolutely.
But what SoZo has is a net. It's not the kind of risk that may be typical in traditional business. And now, yes, it still is a risk. It's still different. And because anytime something's different, you're a little uncomfortable. You have fear about it. But to know there's a net there.
Absolutely.
That's safe, that will help you, that will support you. That's what the company's here for, I think, is what makes this industry, and more importantly, though, what makes SoZo already a world-class company, only to get that much better.
I agree.
We've got the convention coming up in January, and I think it's so important for everyone to understand how important it is as the CEO of their own company, and as you, the CEO of the overall company, to help each independent CEO, how important it is for these distributors to be at this convention.
I think it's incredible. I think it's incredibly important. We, not only is it good for them to be at the convention to hear a lot of the new things we're bringing out, and to galvanize some of the learnings that they've had. We spent a great deal of time on this particular convention to bring all the pieces together. This is the first time in the company's history that we've had the time and the ability to really plan for an event properly. But beyond that, I don't think there's a better opportunity coming in the next 12 months for a distributor to bring their prospective recruits and have them really get the systemic view of the company than this particular meeting. So, but on top of that, for people that are trying to build their business, we're going to lay out the roadmap for that. We are going to take you from where they are now. Obviously, we have a lot of very successful people building their business out there. I can't believe how successful some of these folks are. We're going to take it to a whole new level. We're going to simplify the process. We're going to enhance the compensation plan. People are going to drive out of there in BMWs. That'll be exciting. We have our Academy Awards coming. We have a huge Academy Awards event on the last night where we're going to recognize our leaders and what they're doing. And it's the hub of our culture. And I wouldn't want to be a part of it if I couldn't go to the convention. Convention is like the culmination of the year. So, and we're going to pay close attention to not just who attends the convention, but who our leaders are at recruiting and bringing other people to the convention. The convention sort of speaks to all that we are. This is where we take it to a new level. And we'll always do that. And we need our leaders, especially our leaders, but all people involved in the business to make this convention a priority. And it'll be worth it. It'll be exciting. Believe me, it's good stuff.
And it's history, too.
Absolutely.
Because this is really, even though it's not the quote-unquote first, it kind of is the first. The first of where the company is now. And at the end of this convention, it's really the first day of the rest of the company's life.
Right.
So how can you miss that? You can't miss that.
Can't miss it.
You have to be there. Well, you know what, Mark? It's been a great pleasure
Likewise,
spending this
Greg.
time with you and hearing some of the powerful just techniques, ideas, concepts, philosophies that you have that people can use in their everyday life and of course in their SoZo business. And you know, one of the things that I've been hearing since we've been on this trip to Puerto Rico, it's not the saying it's oh so sweet, it's SoZo sweet. I love that. It's SoZo sweet. And I think that these people understand that they've got something pretty sweet. And with you at the helm and your great executive team and the great leaders of this company, I believe the best is yet to come. So I look forward
Greg.
to the ride.
My pleasure. Likewise.
How good was that? To be sitting there in such a beautiful place, what a great casual environment, and sitting there with Mark Adams and getting some great golden nuggets on what it takes to achieve financial freedom and personal success. But then on top of that, to really get an in-depth understanding about SoZo. And to think, if you're brand new watching this, because it's certainly possible that somebody's sharing this with you, because it's such a great interview when you think about it. You're getting to hear from the co-founder, the CEO, and the president of SoZo. And if you're going to start with any company, wouldn't you want to know firsthand from somebody who helped put this company together what was really involved? And to hear him talk about the products and the time, the energy, and effort that went into securing those products. And then the compensation plan, which affords people the chance to become financially free. And then to put together SoZo University, a training platform to teach people what it takes to be successful in their own business and in their life. And then on top of that, to have the right executives in the right place to do the right things to help this company to grow to the highest level. And then, of course, we cannot forget the most important element, which is the distributors. And he spoke about all of those things. It's kind of like having pieces to a puzzle. And he is now facilitating bringing those pieces together to make a solid puzzle that everyone can be proud of. So think about the opportunity. Think about what SoZo has to offer. And so if you are looking at this, realize what this could do for you and your family. And for those of you who are taking advantage of the Get the Edge series, make sure you watch this again and again and again, because throughout that interview, there were so many great, valuable points that you could use in building your SoZo business and achieving greatness in your personal life. So we will look forward to talking with you again real soon with the Get the Edge series. And of course, remember, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much room.